Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special segment of the Women in Sales Leadership podcast, which is part of the Sales Game Changers podcast family. And I am super excited to be welcoming my guest, Dr. Kristen Johnson. And Kristen is leader of U.S. public sector strategic engagement teams at AWS. And she is going to be leading a phenomenal workshop at our upcoming Women in Sales Elevation Conference on Thursday, October 9th. So sit back and enjoy this very fun conversation with Dr. Johnson. Thank you. All right. So with me is Kristen Johnson. She is just an all around amazing person. You, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And she is with AWS. I will tell you that much. And why don't you take it away a little bit, and Kristen, and tell us what you do for AWS, and then we're going to talk about what you're going to be talking about at the conference.
I love it, Gina. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So, I started my journey with Amazon on the .com side, leading strategy for digital comics in Kindle. And then I came over to AWS a couple of years ago to help organizations to innovate like Amazon does, to use
Wow.
Amazon's unique process of creating new things. And so I currently lead two teams. One is our public sector digital innovation team that literally uses Amazon's working backwards process to help customers. And the other is the data driven transformation team, which helps public sector organizations to really get their data house in order. But Gina,
Wow.
I'll tell you more interesting things about me. I'm a card carrying comic book geek. I've been reading comics since I learned how to read, and I still dress up as superheroes and villains on the weekend.
Oh,
I
I
have
love
11
it.
dogs. I have
You
11
have
dogs. So if anybody has
11
pets,
dogs?
11 dogs. I joke, Gina, that my husband brought three children into the marriage, so I get to have as many dogs as I want, even though they're all adults and out of the house now. And should you imbibe in adult beverages, my beverage of choice is a dirty Belvedere martini with blue cheese stuffed olives. So we can talk about AWS all day long, but those are more interesting facts about me.
Yeah. The 11 dogs has got me stopped in my tracks. Tell us about I'm sorry to say this, the first thing that came to my mind is so there's going to be a new comic book hero, Crazy Dog Lady, you know.
Oh, and I
Cra-
could design a great costume for that. But just to be clear, I promise that I don't live in squalor. We're very
No,
well
I
choreographed.
know. It was just like, wait a minute. I've never heard of Crazy Dog Lady, just Crazy Cat Lady.
Sign me up.
I love it. Well, tell us about a little bit about your dogs and then we'll go in to you.
Sure. Yes, my dogs are more interesting than me too. So, Gina, I have everything from a 140-pound Great Dane all the way to a 6-pound blind epileptic Italian Greyhound. And most of the ones in between are retired racing greyhounds, or they are silk and windhounds, which are like long haired greyhounds. So I have the dogs that
Wow.
I wish I was, tall and skinny.
Yeah. This is fabulous. I absolutely love this. My cousin's husband is a big Italian Greyhound
Oh,
fan. Yeah, they're beautiful dogs.
oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
just graceful and yeah, that's me. I'm going to be tall and thin in my next life too. And creative and
All of that.
all of that stuff. In the meantime, you and myself and a number of other amazing women are all working hard to plan this upcoming Women in Sales Elevation Conference, for which I can't wait. Honestly, I'm super psyched about this.
Me too.
It's going to be all things AI and women in sales. And that is everything from tools and tricks and tips to policy and ethics and why it's absolutely critical that women are at the table and not waiting for someone to hand you the AI policy for your company. You have to be part of the conversation. And I know you get that. And so, talk to us a little bit about what you're going to be doing at the conference for us.
Sure. And so, Gina, let me kind of just give a point of view and then tie it to what I'm going to cover when we all get together in person.
Good.
So, I look at AI and back in whether you went to university or got an MBA or any sort of training in organization change management, you'll remember Rogers' change management curve, which looks a little bit like a stegosaurus, right? Like it's got early adopters and then it's got a big lump at the middle where most people come on with technology, and then there's a trailing tail at the end of people who were kind of late adopters to any sort of change. Well,
Right.
in the era of AI, forget the Stegosaurus, it's more like a shiver of sharks. And by the way, that is what you call a group of sharks. It's a shiver of sharks. I didn't know that.
Well, I am going home right now. I have learned my thing for the day.
It is new. And and I know that verbally, so picture a group of sharks with each shark fin going sharply up, right, one right after the other. And that's how fast technological change is coming at us these days. So nobody has the luxury of waiting for the Stegosaurus adoption. We are all adopting on the go to everything that comes down the pike. And I have to say, Gina, women are uniquely positioned to help with this because historically, women's ability, and still today, not just Stegosaurus historically, but even today, women bring the empathy, women bring the opportunity, women bring the creativity to be able to thrive in that environment where the shiver of sharks is just coming so quickly. And our ability to step into leadership roles with AI is not only unprecedented, but what was the word for the largest thing that you can think of? Because bringing those qualities that all the research shows that women have to the table with AI can only make it better, because AI is truly like it's like knowing lottery numbers in advance. So it's got all the efficiencies and automation, but it's really truly predicting the future and being able to hyper personalize things. And who's better than women to be able to bring the creative prompts required to drive those kind of outcomes from AI? So
Mm.
to bring that back to what I'm going to cover, so I am going to bring, just like one of the teams that I lead, I am going to bring Amazon's working backwards process to the conversation in terms of helping us all envision how AI can really take what your organization is doing, take your own sales and your sales leadership to the next level. And what we're going to do is we're going to start thinking about your customer. Everybody who is in attendance has a role in sales. So we have a customer. That customer can look and feel very differently. I mean, sometimes, for example, if I'm a pharmaceutical rep, my customer might be a patient in a hospital, not necessarily the person buying it. It could be
Hmm.
that patient. So we're going to go to the end of the value chain and define who your customer is. And from that, from the customer, what is their biggest problem? What is the biggest benefit that we can provide them? And oh, by the way, as we think aspirationally about AI, how does AI as a customer experience then play directly into solving a problem back to your customer? So we're going to make we're going to do that entire virtuous cycle, Gina, from really looking into your customer's shoes, what their problems are, and ultimately ideating around how AI can help solve that customer's problem. Which, coming back to our roles, of course, we obsess about our customers, but a lot of us in the room are not going to be representatives of nonprofits. And so being able to create that entire value chain from what the customer
Mm.
needs to how AI can actually support benefits for them is just a way to look aspirationally at what AI can do. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm thinking to myself as the, organizer of the conference, I need to make sure that I'm in this room and not, taking care of some problem or outside the door because it just sounds so fascinating. And, I know that there are concerns people have about, AI taking over the world,
Mhm.
but with every media that comes on, every medium that comes on to into our lives, I should say, there is that fear factor. I mean, it all the
Oh,
way from
absolutely.
even the written word was first scorned as, we're going to ruin oral history, and then the printing press was going to be the demise of
Oh,
civilization.
yes,
I
yes,
mean,
yes.
and it's just that's kind of human nature. Like, oh, whoa, that's too much change all at once. I can't handle it. But I love how you approach the not just the topic, but the beauty of of what it can do. Like, all of those fears and concerns aside, it can also do these amazing things,
It's
you know,
it,
and l being able to come in front of your customer, your client, and say, "I've got a solution," or, "We can find a solution using these tools." That's a beautiful thing.
I truly believe that, and, Gina, I don't wanna discount somebody's fears. I mean, we
Right.
all have emotions. In fact, I read a stat that said that we have emotions 80 to 90% of the day, so we
Yep.
cannot leave emotions out of the picture, and so, but I don't wanna discount those, but I will say approaching AI with a sense of, I wanna say, healthy optimism is
Mhm.
going to help us all thrive because, it is here and it is here to stay. And trying to literally put too many guardrails around it is just going to limit what we can do with it. And I want us all to think, one of the things that women do very well is to adapt to our audiences. And I mean that in a variety of ways, not an audience of like 200 people, but even that one on one. So,
Uh-huh.
the way that we communicate, we are very good at adapting that communication to the listener to be able to put ourselves in a very empathic manner into their shoes. AI can even take that a step further. I mean, if you think about the hyper personalization that it can provide, I mean, okay, so 11 dogs. Clearly, I'm a crazy dog lady, although I've had cats in the past too. If I tie it to that, if I am trying to position a benefit for a customer of mine who's like me, who loves dogs, well, if I can explain that using a metaphor associated with dog ownership, is that going to be better received by my audience? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Versus, Gina, if something that you loved, I'm making this up because I don't know if this is something that you actually love, but if you, for example, loved fashion, let's say that leather jackets were your favorite thing. If I could describe what I was trying to do for you in terms of either your ability to buy more leather jackets or to show them off more effectively, that's
Mm.
only going to make you excited. And so, thinking about the power of our messaging as it relates to how AI can support us is just as important as things like being able to do customer personas and profiles and to understand kind of the various segmentations that we can do.
Uh, Great explanation. And that's interesting too. Even something, well, not as simple as a persona, but as a starting point, thinking about who you're selling to and what their needs are. And you used to do these on whiteboards and in the conference room. Okay, let's talk about our ideal client, and you're doing everything from, she drives a Volvo station wagon, or, he coaches Little League, all of those things. To have it so immediate, and for you to be able to see, like that's 99% right. The 1% is this. And to me, that is like the time, the energy, the and the variance that you can even get out of AI with those personas. Let's just take that, keep going with that example for a minute. If they give you one where, Bob is has 2.5 kids and drives a Volvo, and then here's one where he also has 11 dogs. And so, he and each one of the kids has to take care of two dogs, and so, like, the fact that you can discern, a couple variances so rapidly, and also fan out from there, what that means. Okay, so now you know that Tom spends a lot of money on dog food, which means, just, I mean, to me, just those little variances, right down to like threading a needle, so precise. It's just staggering to me. And
It is that is a great word. It is staggering, and I think so. I am passionate about the intersection of machine and human. Maybe it comes from
mm,
comic books, maybe it comes from science fiction, which is my other big obsession. But that intersection of machine and human. Not that we need to be combined as cyborgs, but if you think about AI and what it does, and even that staggering amount of hyper personalization, there still needs to be a layer of true human authenticity
Hmm.
on top of that, because it's not enough just to give that example of Bob with your 2.5 and your 11 dogs, to know that it's then bringing to bear what we all intuitively do as women, that layer of authenticity in the delivery. So, I think AI in and of itself is, it'll never be standalone, I believe. I
Hmm.
don't think that it's going to be ever standalone, despite every science fiction movie out there that predicts doom and gloom, right? That intersection of machine and human is what is going to drive the future. It's going to drive sales. And women are just so uniquely poised to take advantage of that, because we already flex across so many contexts.
Yes, yes, yes. And I live and breathe everything women in sales. I mean, this is my baby,
I love it.
and I love it. And I know how absolutely phenomenal women are in sales and in management of sellers. And this is a tool that I really want them to feel empowered with. And to your point, a guest on another podcast recording I did, shared a statistic that women are, I don't know, 70 or 80% more proficient with AI because their prompts are so much richer. We tell a story when we're asking AI to do something for us. Like, here's what you need to know. And it's the difference between, men are very linear, well, not literal, linear
Linear, yes, yes, yes.
um thinkers. And we as women, we think all over the place. This is connected to this, is connected to this, and it really shows up in how we feed instructions into AI.
Mhm.
And that makes the solutions that come out that much more encompassing, right? And
Yeah.
multi-dimensional versus, one or two dimensions. So that's why I really want this conference to just not diminish fears, or minimize them, I should say, but hopefully diminish them a little bit, and let the eagerness and the creativity and the curiosity, which is something women bring to the table, which is what makes us so good at sales, to really be curious about, like, what are you going to do with that solution? What is
Mhm.
going to make you sleep better at night because this solution works exactly the way you want it to. I mean, those kinds of things, we could take over the world.
Oh, without a doubt. And I'm looking forward to that, Gina. Sign me up. I joke that today is kind of the revenge of the liberal arts degrees, those of us that got liberal arts degrees, because
Yes.
that kind of creativity, that interconnectedness, that Renaissance way of thinking, not to go too back far in history, but that kind of approach is what is going to define those prompts.
Yes.
And just in case, I'm assuming everybody who might be listening to this is at least familiar, but just to clarify, that prompts are what you feed into AI that drives the answers from it. So it could be a question, it could be something like summarize the following in 100 words, which is just one capability. It
Hmm.
could be, tell me about what a humane society is going to look like in the future based on the number of spay and neuter that exists today, the number of animals that are already in homes. Use that data to tell me what is going to happen to humane societies in the future. Those are prompts. They're things that you feed into AI. And
Mm.
I'm not trying to be rudimentary. I'm just making sure that that
No, no, it's good. It's a
doing the
good
set.
moment of clarity in this conversation, because it's easy to assume that everyone knows what a prompt is. Um, and it's interesting because one of the things that I asked AI last week
Ah,
was, talk to me about some of the jobs that are going to be, there in the future that aren't here today. And one of them is that it came up with was a prompt
oh,
engineer.
yes, yes.
And because the next level of this will be, just being hyper proficient at prompting, right?
Oh,
And
that's a great
so,
term. Hyper proficient. Yes, yes.
you know what I mean? Because the more proficient we get, the more proficient it will get. So I too am in that real excitement camp. And part of me wishes I was like 30 years younger because where it's going, it's like, oh, damn it, I want to see this.
Gina, we don't need to be 30 years younger for that. I mean, it is coming and it's here, and we have that opportunity. Although I
Well,
do,
that's true. I keep thinking like the next leap, and maybe I've read too much science fiction too, but
it's it is funny how much science fiction has predicted. Although the fun fact that I usually share is the Jetsons got one thing wrong, and my doorbell in my house is the Jetsons theme song.
oh, I love that.
And one of the things that they got wrong is they still used a lot of paper and coin money. So other than that, I think that science fiction really has predicted a lot of what we see today, and what we see going forward. And to the folks that join us for this conference, I hope that they get that excitement because it's unprecedented. And if I were to give kind of a Monday morning call to anybody listening to this or who joins the conference, I think it could be see what's going on in your organization and volunteer today. So many organizations today are starting to stand up those AI steering committees, those AI leadership roles, those AI kind of, I don't want to use the term oversight too much because that makes it heavy handed. And I think it's a combination of oversight and acceleration of AI.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
take that opportunity to step into those roles now, because whether it is the hyper proficient in prompt engineering or it's the next chief AI officer, which I firmly believe is going to exist,
Oh
take
yeah.
that step to be seen in those circles. Because, and if your organization is not standing up an AI steering committee, form it, create it, drive it, use that as an opportunity to shape where your organization is taking it and how it will absolutely impact your ROI.
Wow. That's like a mic drop moment right there.
Oh,
No, it is because it- that's that is really i- what I want women to take away from this conference. Like be part of this. It's fun, it's exciting. It doesn't have to be, oh gosh, great, one more thing on my plate. I can't handle it because really at the end of the day, there are ways and there's going to be women at the conference talking about this. Like it's 5 minutes to five and you're at the office and you haven't figured out dinner. Just remember what's in your refrigerator, throw it into AI and say, come up with a meal plan. And it will. And then you don't have to stop at the grocery store, which saves you another half an hour or 40 minutes and then the pressure's off. I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
it is. It automates so much. And I think of that, Gina, as not just the opportunity to have time for your home things, it's the opportunity to really think about higher level functions that leaders provide to their organizations. Because if you can automate the admin, if you can automate the bureaucracy, think about how much time we would have to spend with our mentees, to spend with
Mm.
our teams, to spend with our leaders, to spend with our customers, because those things are taken off your plate completely. Although back to home things, I do always think of. Do you remember that cheesy that '90s movie, Clueless, with Alicia
Yes,
Silverstone? And
yes.
she had in her closet, she had that screen that had mapped all of the pieces of clothing that she had, and she could mix and match and choose what she was going to do. I'm convinced that's what AI is going to give me tomorrow. Is it's going to have a whole wardrobe view and mix and match exactly what I need on that day. That it's a combination of the customers that I'm going to meet and the weather that's out there, and I'm not even going to have to think about it in the morning.
Oh, I would love that. And
I
you're
know,
so right,
right?
though. I love leather jackets, so let's
Oh,
make that one happen.
exactly.
But the real point is let's get you on board. Let's get you feeling comfortable and raising your hand for those committees and those the steering committees and the panels and the boards. Like you, make sure your voice is part of the solution.
Be part of it and be comfortable saying, even in those forums, be comfortable saying, I don't know, because
Right.
everybody is in the same boat or the same boat. Just it's okay to say, I don't know, but let's figure it out together. And so that automatically
Absolutely.
positions you in that leadership role. Even at first, if you might not know the technological answer, it's a way to get to know it.
Yes. Yes. And whatever you don't know, you can just ask AI.
Hey,
Just sneak off
exactly.
to the ladies' room and just type it in your phone
Yes, yes.
and come
Oh,
back with brilliance.
oh,
Uh,
yes, completely.
and there's another woman speaking from Oracle, Dr. Elizabeth Van Winkle, and she is going to be talking about how pretty much her whole career she's been in the room with a lot of men where she didn't necessarily feel like she had the answers or she knew what she was doing, but she, because either the position was thrust on her or someone had this leap of faith for her, and she was like, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out. And she said, every room I got in, I realized they didn't know what they were doing either.
Mm-mm.
Right. So she said men are just less likely to question themselves. You know,
Ah,
there'll be like, yeah, yeah, I'll figure it out. You know, so that's going to be her message. Like, you don't need to know everything. You can just know the words AI and we'll get you started. Right. So, I mean, that is the message. I mean, I'm so excited to hear all of your presentations and workshops and what have you. And the
I am
day is going to
humbled
be
to be
phenomenal.
part of it. I just looking at the slate of folks that you have lined up, Gina, I am very privileged and humbled to be part of it, but I'm also excited to hear from all of them.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great day. Going to be a great day. So if you're listening to this and you haven't registered, there is still time. And make sure you share this with all your friends. All right. Well, thank you, Kristen, and I will see you on Thursday.